Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine finding out that the digital keys to your most sensitive internal stuff, financial records, maybe patient data, weren't just vulnerable, but were actually being stolen.
Right.
Not through phishing, but a really clever bypass in the software you rely on every day.
Hmm.
And here's where it gets really interesting. We're talking about brand new, critical, zero-day vulnerabilities in Microsoft SharePoint Server.
0 days. Yeah.
And they're being actively exploited right now. There's a campaign name for it, ToolShell. It's just a stark reminder, isn't it, of how fast things change.
It really is. And what's fascinating here, like you said, these aren't just theoretical flaws. They're active 0-day exploits. The attackers definitely had a head start before patches were even thought about.
Right, before anyone knew.
Exactly. So this deep dive will lay out what's happening. And crucially, this targets on-premises SharePoint servers. That's your 2016, 2019, and the subscription edition.
Okay, so not the cloud version.
No, exactly. If you're using SharePoint Online in Microsoft 365, you are not affected by these specific ones. But for those on-prem systems, well, if we look at the bigger picture, the stakes are incredibly high.
Like what?
We're looking at unauthenticated remote code execution, someone getting full control without needing a password, potential for massive data theft, and attackers setting up shop, basically, getting persistent access inside your network long-term.
Okay, that's why this deep dive is so vital then. We're going to try and cut through the technical jargon, show you the immediate dangers, and then most importantly, give you clear, actionable steps.
Yeah.
Our mission is simple. Turn these complex warnings into insights you can actually use so you walk away ready to tackle this.
Okay, so diving into the mechanics, the ToolShell campaign, it really hinges on two critical 0 days. First, there's CVE 2025-53770. That one has a CVSS score of 9.8.
9.8 out of 10. That's
Wow. Yeah, pretty much as severe as it gets. Easily exploitable, catastrophic impact potential. Then there's CVE 2025-53771, rated medium at 6.3. And we know they've been actively exploiting these since at least July 18th, 2025.
So how does an attacker actually get in without credentials? That first one, the 9.8.
Right. CVE 2025-53770. It comes down to how SharePoint handles, well, untrusted data in HTTP requests, specifically and securely.
Yeah.
Normally, SharePoint asks for a kind of ID. It's called a form digest to check you're legit.
Okay.
But these attackers found a trick. They target a specific endpoint, layouts 15toolpane.aspx, with a malicious POST request.
Okay.
And the really clever part is they forged the referer header. It's like flashing a fake ID badge that says, hey, I'm coming from a trusted internal page, like layout-signout.aspx.
Ah, so it makes SharePoint think it's a safe request.
Exactly. It completely bypasses that initial ID check, and that opens the door for them to upload their malicious file, often called spinstall.aspx.
It's like tricking the security guard, telling him you belong, and just walking right in.
Precisely. And once that file, which looks maybe innocent, is uploaded, its job is to steal the server's cryptographic keys.
Master keys.
Essentially, yeah, the validation key and decryption key. These keys are then used to forge valid view state payloads. Now, view state is kind of like a digital handshake between SharePoint and your browser, confirming who you are session to session.
Okay.
So by stealing these keys, attackers can forge that handshake. They create their own master key, basically, letting them walk back in even after you patch the initial vulnerability.
Oh.
This gives them persistent remote code execution. They can install backdoors, web shells, run any command they want, access files, steal data, grab internal configs.
So it's a full system takeover.
Absolutely. And it's an entry point for lateral movement, too.
Yeah.
Think of them moving quietly from SharePoint, maybe into Teams, maybe OneDrive, looking for more.
Wow, okay. So full takeover, not just a peek. But you mentioned two vulnerabilities. What's the role of the other one? CVE 2025-53771, the medium one.
Yeah, that one's about header spoofing, basically tricking the system about where requests came from due to improper path name checks. We haven't seen it used alone in the wild, but it really helps the ToolShell chain.
How so?
It helps them bypass authentication by mimicking legitimate SharePoint workflows. Again, manipulating that referer header to get into restricted areas they shouldn't. So the first vulnerability gets the foothold for code execution.
And this one helps keep the door open.
Kind of, yeah. It helps maintain that crucial authentication bypass that leads to the full compromise we talked about.
And what's really alarming, you mentioned, is that these aren't entirely new ideas for attacks, right? They're bypasses of earlier flaws.
That's right. These are sophisticated bypasses of CVE 2025-49704 and CVE 2025-49706. Microsoft patched those back in the July 2025 patch Tuesday.
So the attackers just adapted.
Instantly, it seems.
Yeah.
It really highlights how adaptive these adversaries are, always finding new ways around defenses. It's like this constant digital whack-a-mole game.
It really feels like that sometimes.
Absolutely. And the ToolShell chain itself, it was actually shown off publicly back at Pew2Own Berlin in May 2025. They demonstrated this exact combo,
Yeah.
auth bypass plus code injection for unauthenticated RCE.
So the blueprint was out there.
And the fact that the July patches were bypassed so quickly by these new CVEs just underlines the challenge. It's a real cat and mouse game, and right now the mouse is proving quite clever.
Okay, we've gone deep into the technical side, but the real punch often comes from the impact, the numbers. What are you seeing as the most alarming trend with this ToolShell campaign spread? Are certain organizations getting hit harder?
Well, the scope is significant and concerning because it's hitting critical infrastructure. It's not niche. We know of at least 85 servers compromised across 54 organizations already.
And these are...
Victims include federal and state government agencies, universities, energy companies, banks, healthcare institutions, really across the board.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. For instance, a California university thinks student records, intellectual property. A New York fintech company, huge risk, not just financial data, but customer trust, regulatory issues. A Florida state government body that's sensitive citizen data, vital operations at risk. And this campaign is built for persistence. Attackers are grabbing those ASP.NET machine keys to craft forged authentication tokens. That gives them long-term access, even after patching, and lets you rotate those keys.
That's a terrifying detail. Patching isn't enough if they already have the keys. That speaks to, well, maybe a fundamental weakness, doesn't it? What's the biggest challenge in kicking them out once they have that persistence?
It's huge. Once they're in, they can access all SharePoint content-sensitive docs, file systems, internal configs. Data theft is massive, but persistence is insidious. Stealing those crypto keys means they can keep using forged vState payloads.
Right, the fake handshake.
Exactly. They persist even if you patch, unless those keys are rotated and invalidated. And this allows that lateral movement we talked about into Teams, OneDrive, Outlook potentially. They deploy web shells, like that spinstall.aspx, for remote commands and data exfiltration. They're effectively backdooring your systems.
And hitting critical sectors amplifies the risk massively.
Exponentially. Government, healthcare, finance, the potential for systemic damage is enormous.
Okay, so this is definitely a clear and present danger. Immediate attention needed. Let's talk about fighting back. What are the absolute immediate actions organizations need to take?
Right, mitigation. First step, absolutely critical. Apply the emergency security updates from Microsoft. They released patches for SharePoint Server 2019 and Subscription Edition on July 20th and 21st, 2025, and for 2016 on July 21st.
Okay, patch immediately.
Yes. You'll find the specific KB numbers and details in our show notes. Prioritize your internet-facing servers. Those are the TRIME targets. And if you're on older, unsupported versions, well, this is a huge wake-up call to upgrade, or at least watch the Microsoft Security Response Center blog like a hawk for any guidance.
Got it. Patching first. But we just talked about persistence, those stolen keys. How do you deal with that?
That's step 2, and it's equally crucial. Rotate your cryptographic keys. As we said, attackers grab the validation key and decryption key. To invalidate those stolen keys, to essentially change the master lock, you must rotate your machine keys.
How do you do that?
It's done using PowerShell. Commands like add psnap in Microsoft.SharePoint.PowerShell, then get spfarm rotate machine key. And importantly, after rotating, you have to restart the iSize service on all your SharePoint servers to apply the change.
So it's not just running the command.
No, the restart makes it take effect. This step is non-negotiable. It stops attackers from using stolen tokens to get back in, even after you've patched. It really is like changing the locks after someone copied your key.
Okay, patch, rotate keys. What's another layer of proactive defense?
Third key mitigation. Enable the anti-malware scan interface, or AMSI. Think of AMSI as like a dedicated security guard just for scripts running on the server.
Okay.
It scans scripts and code running in memory before they execute. This helps catch even tricky obfuscated threats. It's actually been enabled by default in SharePoint 2016 and 2019 since September 2023, and in Subscription Edition 23H2.
So most should have it.
They should, but you need to ensure it's enabled and properly configured with a good AV solution, like Microsoft Defender, or a solid third-party tool. AMSI can effectively block these unauthenticated exploit attempts by scanning the bad payload before it runs. Reduces the RCE risk significantly.
That sounds powerful. What if patching is delayed, maybe for testing, or if an organization is stuck on an old version? Any stopgap?
Yeah, in that tough spot, our fourth recommendation, and this is a temporary measure, really critical though, is to consider temporarily disconnecting your internet-facing SharePoint servers if they're unpatched.
Take them offline.
Temporarily, yes. The ToolShell exploit needs internet access to deliver those malicious requests. Disconnecting acts as a barrier. CISA recommends this too to reduce exposure. But obviously, it disrupts service, so plan carefully, communicate clearly. It's not long-term, but it buys you time.
Makes sense. Okay, beyond mitigation, how can organizations actively check if they have been compromised? Hunt for these specific threats.
Okay, detection and threat hunting. You need active monitoring. First, check your ICE logs for suspicious requests. Specifically, look for POST requests to layouts 15 toolpane.aspx display mode edit that have a referer header of layouts signout.aspx.
That exact combination.
Yes, that specific combo is a huge red flag for the ToolShell exploit chain. It's designed to bypass auth and start the RCE process. Finding that is like finding the smoking gun in your logs.
Very specific signature. Are there other files or processes that are red flags?
Absolutely. If you use Microsoft 365 Defender, you can hunt for that spinSol ASPX file using KQL queries. It's commonly dropped by ToolShell.
Where does it usually end up?
Typically in C program files files Microsoft shared web server extensions 16 template layouts. It's used to extract keys or run commands. We'll include a sample KQL query in the show notes you can adapt.
Okay.
Also, watch for suspicious process chains, specifically w3wp.exe, the main ISA process, spawning cmd.exe, or PowerShell.exe, especially with encoded commands. That's a clear sign an attacker has control and is running things.
Right. Active log analysis, file hunting. What about more advanced methods? Looking for broader patterns.
That's where behavioral analytics come in. Tools with AI-driven analysis, like Rapid7 MDR or Cortex XDR, can flag suspicious activity, unusual PowerShell execution, unauthorized file creation, things that might slip past signature-based detection.
Like subtle signs.
Exactly. For instance, Unit 42 observed attackers looping through web.config files and dumping their contents into a file named debugdev.js. That screams data exfiltration prep. These systems spot activity that just looks wrong, even if it's novel.
And are there specific IPs we should be blocking right now? Known bad actors?
Yes. Monitor for connections from known malicious IPs reported by CISA. Examples from July 18th, 19th include 107.191.58.76, 104.238.159.149, and 96.9.125.147.
Block those at the firewall.
Definitely. Update your IPS, your WAFs to block those IPs and also traffic patterns matching those toolpane.aspx requests we discussed. Tools like Cortex Expanse or Rapid7 Insight VM can also help you find exposed SharePoint servers in the first place.
Okay. So, what does this all mean for you listening right now? The ToolShell exploit using CVE 2025-53770 and CVE 2025-53771 is a severe immediate threat if you run on-premises SharePoint. It's not just about data loss. It's about determined attackers getting persistent access, maybe compromising your whole network. The critical actions are clear. Patch immediately with Microsoft's emergency updates, rotate those cryptographic keys, absolutely vital, ensure AMSI is enabled and working, and actively hunt for threats using those indicators we discussed. Your vigilance is really key here.
And this raises an important question, really. What's the true value of knowing all this if you don't apply it? The knowledge we shared today, it's only valuable if you act. Protecting your systems from data theft, compromise, long-term disruption from these specific vulnerabilities requires immediate, decisive action.
It's ongoing.
It absolutely is. Cybersecurity isn't a destination, it's an ongoing journey. Constant vigilance is honestly your best defense against threats that are always evolving.
That's a powerful thought. And as you consider your next steps, maybe think about this too. The very fact that these new vulnerabilities are effectively bypassing recent patches just highlights how incredibly adaptive cyber adversaries are.
Right.
They're constantly probing, innovating, finding new angles. So what does that really mean for how we approach proactive defense moving forward? It suggests it can't just be about reacting to the latest patch Tuesday, right? It has to be about anticipating the next move in this very sophisticated, ongoing digital chess game.